Good afternoon, my dear loving children. How are you all? You are fine. Okay, had your lunch? All of you had your lunch? Yes, that is fine. So, all of you, please just stand up, sit down, stand up, hands down, and take your seat. Take your seat. Sit down. Okay. Do you remember which was the chapter that we did in our previous history class? What we did? Arjun? Yes, very good. We took Neolithic period, and before that, Arya, good, hunters and gatherers, right? Yes, hunters and gatherers we did. And tell me, what was the life of those people during hunting and gathering? What men were doing at that time? Yes, very good. They were mainly hunters, right? They were mainly hunters. Yes, very good. And they were leading nomadic life. Very good. That is also right. Nomadic life they were leading. And where they were living at that time? Where do they live? At that period, where were they living? Yes, very good. In caves. They were living in caves, right? Yes. And when we took Neolithic period, what changes took place? What kind of developments that we see during that time in the Neolithic period? Yes, during hunting and gathering. We were taking hunting and gathering. And during the Neolithic period? Yes, very good. Men invented wheels. Then, Soumya, add on. Yes, agriculture. Very good. So, Akhil. Yes, men settled near the river. That's an important point. Okay, everybody should notice. Men settled near rivers, right? Yes. And what else? Started domesticating animals. Very good. So, men started domesticating animals. Then what else? They started living in groups, right? Yes, they started living in for that we can say they started living in society, yeah, right? So all of you have contributed some points, right? Then we will see that in the early period where they were living in the caves. Why do they live in the cave? Why did they live in caves? Why did they live far away from the river that time? Tell me. Yes, something important had not taken place during that period. That is why they were living in caves that time. What was that? Yes, Arjun, very good. Why? The people had not started growing food for themselves. So, they were living in caves. Okay, hence they were living far away from the river, right? Yes, very good. And during this period, so many changes had taken place, right? They started living in a society, they started agriculture, they stayed near the rivers, and they invented even the wheels, And one more thing, they built houses, right? They built houses also. So there took place so many changes, right? Yes, all of you have understood this much part, right? All of you understood this very well. We have done this much, right? Till today. And today we will see a little further. Okay, we see that here man had developed so much that than what he was in the hunting and what he was as a hunters and gatherers, right? He has developed so much. So today we will see a little bit further. That means the start of civilization. The start of civilization that we are going to see. And do you know the which chapter? Yes, we are going to deal the chapter in the earliest cities. Okay, in the earliest. This is the chapter that we are going to deal today. Okay. Before that, let me ask you what you mean by the word civilization. Manners. Actually, yes, very good. It's actually a civilization. We can say it's some other. It's a different concept about civilization. We can say like what we should be speaking, what we should be doing, the kind of manners that we have to keep, the kind of courtesies that we have to keep in place. That is different kind of civilization. Here we are talking about a different civilization. What is that? It's a kind the stages of human development, the stages of human getting sophistication or getting more advanced in everything. That is what we are going to see in this chapter. And in this chapter, we see that, as the title suggests, the cities. Do you know how we come to know about these cities? How we could know about these cities? You know, these cities actually existed 5,000 years ago, more than 4,700 years. There were cities in our Asia, in our India. You know how we could find all these places. You know how. Yes, there is a story behind that. There is a story behind that. More than a story, we can say it's actually a fact. It's a fact. Okay. Do you want to know that story? Yes. Tell me when railways came into India, the transport of railway came into India. Do you know that? The girl sitting in the back? Are you playing? Tell me something. When the railway came into India, do you know that? During British people were there. That is very good. That is very good. Okay, very good. Okay, when we Indians are under the British colonialism, when the British people were ruling, they took many of our precious things from India to their place, right? Yes, they wanted to take many things from India to their country. So they built these railways during that period. So these British people built these railways here in India, right? Yes, and when they were laying these railways in the part of in the northern part, we can say northwestern part of India, that is Punjab. They were laying railway lines from Punjab and by through Pakistan and all. And that time there was no division such as Pakistan and India. Pakistan was also part of India, right? Yes. So they were building these railways, but at that time they could find while digging the land there, they could find a huge source of fine and refined, what we say, high quality baked bricks they could find. High quality baked bricks they could find. So what they did, they didn't do nothing. They took out these bricks, which is fine quality bricks, they took out and they built these railways. They did not mind all these things. They built the railways and they took out many thousands of these baked bricks. That dilapidated buildings were there. They did not notice that things actually. So after that, it all happened 150 years before, 150 years back it has happened, okay. And after that, after 80 years, this archaeological survey of India, the archaeologists went to that place and they digged out what is there, and they wanted to know more about this, why and how these bricks came into that place. Once they digged out, what happened, you know? They could find that there was a very well defined, well designed cities were there in that place. They could find the remainings of those cities, and they could find that how they arranged these cities they could find. Do you want to know how they arranged these cities? Here is a picture, you see, this is the city, this is the way they built their city. And you see, the city was arranged in such a way, you see that it's a square type, square shape like it was building. It was built, right? It was built in such a way, it's a square, and you can see a small part which is higher than the other part. This is smaller part, but it is higher. Okay, what you see, it's a smaller part, but what we say, but higher we can say, right? Smaller part and it is higher. And this place is higher, and this place is higher and it is smaller. And you see this part is a little bit lower, but it is larger than this place, right? It is larger and it is larger but lower, right? You know, then they found that this is the way they have arranged the city. One part is smaller and it is higher than the other part. This is the lower part, but it is the longer. It is the bigger one compared to the other one. Okay. And you can see they are calling, not they, we call this place as citadel. What we call citadel. And this place, what do we call this place, you know? We called this as lower town. Okay, lower, we called it as lower town. This is how they have arranged the cities. And you want to know, you want to see the picture. Here you see the picture, and you can see in the higher part it is smaller and it is having many things there, right? And in the lower part you can see there is also some buildings, and you see the whole city is built around a wall, and they have built a wall around the city, and the wall was built using this baked bricks, right? Baked bricks they built. And how did they keep these bricks? How did they build these walls? You see, they have arranged these bricks in a interlocked manner, so that gives so much power, and that will help these walls to last long. So you see, in interlocked manner means how? Yes, like this they have built and they like this. They like this. They have built these walls, right? This is how they build these walls of the buildings of this city. So they are very intelligent, right? Yes, right? Yes, they were very intelligent. They built these walls in an interlocked manner. And here you see some more things, right? Like yes, in the citadel, what they build, you know, in the citadel they build the granary. We can see uh, big storehouses, granary and all in the higher place. In Harappa, the place Harappa, they have found out these things, right? Okay, and they found out the city in Harappa, and you know, they, after finding this place, they had found out some similar buildings, some similar sites, same like this. There they found similar sites near to that place, like in it is in Pakistan, and Harappa is actually in current Pakistan, and near to Punjab they found a place, and in Kalibangan is actually in current Rajasthan, and they found Lothal in Gujarat, and in all these sites they found similar structures, similar type of buildings, but all these buildings are called by the name Harappans. Okay, because Harappan was the first city that they have found, first site they have excavated. So and all the rest of the buildings were similar to this building, so they called it as what? Harappan. Okay, all were actually similar. And in Mohenjo-daro, when they excavated Mohenjo-daro, in Mohenjo-daro they could find that in the higher place, which we call as citadel, in that place they could find, they were having fine granary, or we can say storehouses. They had storehouses and granary they had. And you see these public meeting halls also were there in that citadel. And in the citadel they had what we say yes, fine buildings where they conducted some public meeting, where they had conducted important things, what we say, yes, meetings and all. For that they have built meeting halls in the citadel. And in the place called Mohenjo-daro, they could find that in Mohenjo-daro, in the citadel, there they have built a structure. The people called it as Great Bath. Do you want to know about Great Bath? Yes. Here you can see the picture of Great Bath. You see this picture? Yes, there are steps from both the sides. From two sides there are steps, right, leading to this Great Bath, right? And there were rooms. There were many rooms on all sides. You can see in the Great Bath there were rooms on all sides. And you know, this entire building, or building, we can say it's a Great Bath. It's like a pool. The current day we have swimming pool right, sorry, we have swimming pool, right? Yes, same like they had this Great Bath, and it was laid by these bricks on the down, and it is connected, or we can say it was plastered with a natural tar. They have built it they plastered it with natural tar. Why? For what purpose? To make this tank watertight. In order to make this tank watertight, they plastered it with natural tar and all. And once they use this one, they might have used this what we say Great Bath so on some special occasions. We can say on some special occasions some important people would have taken some dip in this Great Bath, right? Yes, some important occasions where they were doing some pujas and all, they would have used this great bath. So there they had the facility to drain it also. Once after the use, they will drain this great bath. And you see in this picture, you can see it in a better way. You see? Yes. This is how they build these buildings and all. And it is said that in cities like Kalibangan in Rajasthan, I have told you, Kalibangan is a site in Rajasthan, and Lothal in Gujarat. In both these sites, Kalibangan in Rajasthan and Lothal in which place? Kalibangan is in which state? Radha? Yes, very good. It is in Rajasthan. And Lothal is in which state? Arun? Yes, it is in Gujarat. And in these two cities, they had fire altars. Fire altars in the citadel, we can say, or in that buildings they had fine citadels. Fire altars they had. That is also something we get some knowledge about that, right? Yes, we will come to know they had or they had a practice of doing pujas and doing sacrifices and all. We will understand from that particular thing, right? Yes. Now we will see the kind of streets, the kind of houses, the kind of drainage system they had during that period. Let's see that. Yes, I hope that all of you have understood this much very well. Yeah. So now we are going to see the kind of house and the kind of streets they had during that time. Okay, so listen to it carefully. Okay, you see the kind of roads they have made during that period. They made the roads like in a right angle. You see, in a right angle they made these roads. That is like north, there is south, and which is this? Which is this? We learned in his geography. Tell me. Yes, it is east. Very good. Very good, Anita. And which is this? Of course, west. So they built their roads like this way in a right angle. Why? What is the reason behind this? They build these roads like this. When they build these roads like this, these roads will get clean naturally with this wind and all. When the wind comes, this place get naturally cleaned. That is why they build these roads like this. You see how intelligent and the kind of cognitive capacity they had. You see, and they build these houses in these places. We can say, in these places, they have built these houses. This is just a part of that. We have seen that city, this is just up. I'm taking a small part of that. Okay, don't think it is this is how the buildings are. I'm taking only a part from that city that we showed in the beginning part. Okay, so this was not like this sharp edges. They were having a tilted way, or in a not so sharp. It is just a curved, we can say a curved like structure they had. Why? They were using these bullock carts, so it will be easy for them to take turns in such a place. They wanted to see from what something is coming from here or not. So they built in a curved shape. And the kind of houses they had during that period, they had one-storied or two-storied height buildings or houses they had. And the speciality about, can I rub this? Okay. The speciality about their houses, their houses were like this. Uh, there will be a courtyard, and the rooms were built around this courtyard. The rooms were built around the courtyard, and it is said that each house was having its own bathing area, its own toilet and all. And the many of the houses have their own wells also. They were keeping wells because that's not places where they get rains and all. So they kept wells. Most of the houses were having their own wells, their own bathing area, their own toilets and everything. And this is how they build their houses. Let's say about the drainage system they had. They had a fine or well planned drainage system. You want to say, yes, they were having covered drainage system. They covered these drains. When they build this drain, you cannot see, right? Yes, their buildings, their drainage system they had covered it with stones. So in order to avoid, why do they cover it? Yes, of course, we know what kind of smell it produces, right? So in order to avoid the smell and spreading of some diseases, they have covered it. What kind of drainage that system that we have now? We call ourselves as civilized people, but we keep our drainage open and not cleaning and all. Very, very dirty it is, right? But in that period, we call them uncivilized. Even then, these people were having very good planning and good engineering, right? Actually, we have to call them as civilized people, very intelligent and very organized, very well planned people, right? Yes. And you see, at that time, each of the houses drainage is connected to the main drainage. Each of the house was having its own drainage system, right? So each of these were connected to this bigger drainage. And as this drainage was covered and kept in a closed way, they wanted to clean this drainage somehow, right? Yes, how do they clean? Then if it is closed, how do they clean? Yes, for that they have given some inspection holes. They have given inspection holes in regular intervals. In regular intervals, they have given some inspection holes through which they can clean this drainage. So they are well planned, right? Yes, they were well planned about everything. This is how their drainage system. Okay, so what we took in this chapter, what are things that we discussed today? Arjun, just tell me 2 sites from which we got these remains of Harappan civilization. Harappan. Neetu, just tell me. Yes, very good. In Mohenjo-daro, from another place. Reena, you can tell. Yes, from Lothal. Lothal is in which state? Tell me. Gujarat. Very good. It is in Gujarat. Yes. Then another site that we talked about. Kalibangan. Very good. Sit down. Kalibangan is in which state? Arun, who is sitting in the back side? The boy sitting in the back side. Please look. Tell me, where is Lothal? Which state? Where were you? The class, you are not listening. Where is Lothal? Which state? You were not listening, I understood. Please listen to this class, okay? The Lothal is in Gujarat, the state of Gujarat, okay? In the state of Gujarat is Lothal. The site Lothal we found in Gujarat, right? Yes. So, what are other things that we discussed? We have found out that these archaeologist people that they found these sites which is similar in their buildings and structure, so they together call it as Harappan, right? Harappan civilization. Yes. Where do we find this great bath? In which site we could find this great bath? Suvida? Yes, very good. Sit down. In Mohenjo-daro, we could find this great bath, right? Yes. And what kind of city they had? What was the city? What was the city like? The city had two parts. Yes, very good. And which are the parts? Citadel. Yes, very good. Citadel was having. And lower part. Yes, very good. Sit down. And what is the speciality about Citadel, Laya? What is the speciality about Citadel? Yes, it's higher place, right? It is higher, but it is smaller in its size. It is higher but smaller in size. And what about the lower part? Mary, what about the lower part? Yes, very good. The lower part was having larger area than compared to the higher part, right? And what do we call for that part? Yes, very good. Sit down. Lower town. Yes, yes. So today in this class we discussed about Harappan civilization, and when we could find this civilization 150 years back, we could understand that they had a civilization, and later the archaeologists came after 80 years. These archaeologists found out that this civilization is having 5,000 years oldness. Okay, this happened 5,000 years ago. And tell me why these sites, all these sites are together called by the name Harappan. Yes, they were all similar in structure, similar in many things, right? Yes, very good. And we discussed the kind of city they had and the kind of things that they kept in the city that they had. The citadel place, the place called Citadel, and lower town they had, and they had great bath in some citadels. In Mohenjo-daro they had great bath, and in some sites like Kalibangan and Lothal they had fire altars. And we discussed about the kind of houses they kept, the kind of streets they had built. And you know, they built these houses, streets, and these drainage system they would have made at the same time, at the same period of time. That is why they could build all these things in a well planned, well arranged way, right? So ma'am, hope that all of you understood everything very well. So we will continue with our class in the next class. Okay, we will continue our class chapter in the next class. Till then, take care. Before that, let me give you a homework. You have to write down about the place, about the things that we studied together. You just write down what are things we studied today in a paragraph. Okay, in a paragraph you have to write down what are things that we discussed today. Okay.